And what's interesting too, you'll notice that these cities across the world, these super cities that they're building, are very high tech. They're wasting, there's no expenses spared for the best quality everything, every kind of material. These are long-term cities, not just bases for the military. But they're on leased land. Why is that? Well, look into Britain and how it always went with a strange 99-year lease program. Same with Hong Kong, you see. Remember they handed Hong Kong back over to the communists? With all the non-communistic people who lived there handed right over to the communists. Do you think they're still around today? Thank you, Great Britain. There are no enemies at the top here. They're all on board together. But these cities are 99. Why is that? Because when they take the world down, and you, all of you out there, are responsible for the debt, these private places that are leased are under a different corporation. They won't be going down. But you will. That's how it's set up. And I kid you not, back with more after this break. Hi folks, I'm Alan Watt. We're cutting through the matrix, standing in for John Stadmiller, and I'll be back on again, remember, too, at 8 p.m. Eastern Time. We run, as I say, by institutions that most people haven't even heard of. If they hear of them, very few will look into them, even though they have their own websites up there and they proudly announce everything they're working on. And yet none of these organizations, these NGOs, these big think tanks are elected by any of us. They're not responsible to us for anything that they do. And governments simply take what they recommend and put it right into governmental policy, and we're only told about it after the facts. That's how government has been run for an awful, awful long time. Think tanks, academia, intelligentsia, as they call it. And we've been trained to be happy little children. Just play. Leave the big problems to your betters, those invisible forces above you that you just know are there even though you'll never meet them, and most folk never even know their names, nor the organizational names. They just don't know. We're trained. Just enjoy yourself and be happy. No matter what's happening, be happy. And they also know that we're the most adaptable species on the planet. We adapt into everything. But it's pat-downs at airports, security checks to get on buses now across Europe, and taxis, show your ID cards, all this kind of stuff. Their traditional warfare scenario. We've still got the rationing to come. And if you look into the Council on Foreign Relations' own website, you'll see that they've been working on that with their own personal think tanks. They have think tanks on every part of social life that you could ever imagine, and many that you couldn't imagine whatsoever. And the Club of Rome keeps you updated as well with their new website. They're the premier think tank for world policy. Do any of you vote for them? No. How could you vote for them? You can't. You can't even just apply to be a member. But they make the big decisions with their big think tanks and academic professors from all over the world, who get two salaries often from there too. They get different tenures from both, plus the universities they work for. And this is how it's been for an awful long time. The Club of Rome recently put out a report. It says redefining and reorienting economic growth. And they said the present path of world economic development is not sustainable. You'll hear that over and over. That means all of you folks should not be alive. In the longer term, this implies that explicit strategies must be put in place to restructure and reorientate economies onto a sustainable path. And they're talking about depopulation, if you can't really get it. This is a major challenge, but also a huge opportunity, because every disaster to them is an opportunity. And it says to lay the foundations of the new economies of the 21st century, which will be innovative, resource efficient, and environmentally sustainable, and more inclusive and socially just. Socially just to whom? To themselves. and more inclusive. It says this will require new models of growth, development and globalization, new policies and adapted and flexible institutions. EU 2020, this is to go up to the year 2020, should have the ambition to initiate internal partnerships, that's outside of our range again, outside of voting, and processes, that's all the intergovernmental departments working together, to lay the base for such a fundamental breakthrough and to provide leadership in the world community in this direction. The world community. Sounds wonderful, like something out of the end of a Disney cartoon, doesn't it? Well, folks, it's time you did something. Learn, teach, get involved, and know your enemy. And then you can fight back in the right kind of way. From myself and Hamish is the dog, from Ontario, Canada, good night to me, your God or your gods go with you.